Gwen Keith-Fleming, let's begin with you, with your expertise on Georgia law and these peculiar kinds of grand juries that you have there. We just listened to Donald Trump's phone call, which the one finding of fact we know about in the grand jury report, they don't believe a word of it. They don't believe one word of what we just heard him say to the Secretary of State. They said absolutely no fraud. They said it unanimously. What does that tell us about what else this grand jury might be thinking?
Well, again, as you said earlier, these 16 people were in the perfect position to be able to assess witness credibility. And I think the biggest thing about this report is the fact that they said unanimously that they did not believe, based on all of the evidence from 75 witnesses, as well as investigators looking at both digital as well as physical evidence, they came to the conclusion that there was no fraud in the 2020 election. That directly goes to the point and intent that any prosecutor would have to prove in a false statement case. And we've said from the beginning, both in the Brookings report, my colleagues and I have said that false statements is one of the crimes that the DA could be looking at. And she said that herself in her very first letter back in January 2021, when she was asking folks to hold on to evidence and not destroy it as she started this whole investigation.
So just to underline that point, in Georgia, it is a crime to make false statements to government officials about elections in this kind of situation that Donald Trump was in on the phone.
Yes, to knowingly make a false statement. And in the Brookings report, we talked extensively about the various counterpoints and folks within DOJ, folks within the former president's sphere that continually said these allegations of fraud were unfounded. And now you have Fulton County residents making that very same conclusion.
And Andrew, in what we just heard, Donald Trump layers false statement on top of false statement. He tells Brad Raffensperger what he knows Brad Raffensperger knows. He says, I know you know that these crimes have been committed.
Right. And of course, Brad Raffensperger says, no, I don't.
Right.
And so in addition to making this false statement, the threat is so palpable and such strong proof where he's saying, I'm really threatening you with criminal prosecution. And if you notice, he says, I believe, this Donald Trump says, I believe this is what's going on. And yet he has the temerity to say, and then I'm threatening you with criminal prosecution when I don't actually have the facts lined up. I mean, that is the tape, when you hear it again and again, you keep on thinking there's no way that this grand jury is not going to recommend that there be charges. It's just, any civilian listens to this and says it's child's play. I mean, it's so clear what's going on here. I would just point out there is a slight difference between saying that this is, in fact, false and the other thing that the government's going to need to prove. The state is going to have to show that Donald Trump knew it was false at the time. That's this additional layer. Now, there's the tape itself, I think, shows that, and there's lots of other proof. But just showing this is the prerequisite to bringing a case is what the grand jury today we learned found. But they now need to show for anyone that they're going to charge, there has to be that additional element, which is that they knew it was false at the time.
Gwen Keith-Fleming, do you see as a former district attorney in Georgia evidence, as we know it in the case right now, that could get to that level of proof, over that level of proof that Andrew was just mentioning?
Well, and Andrew's correct. Every crime, you have to establish the intent. And again, my colleagues and I thought that there were several other contextual pieces of evidence, or at least knowledge in the public realm, that would lead one to believe that the former president at the time should have known or actually did know that these allegations were false. It included statements from his own attorney general at the time indicating that based on the Department of Justice's review, there was no fraud, and others that made similar statements. And I think, again, as we learned through the January 6th committee, their investigation, there were even more supporting evidence that the president at the time knew that those statements were false, and he was still pursuing them. And so those are all of the types of things that the district attorney will be able to bring into her case. And Andrew is right. Again, I think we are looking at multiple indictments. Again, the special grand jury used the plural of the word, and we'll be able to find out who and what crimes, hopefully in short order, whenever the district attorney makes her final charging decisions.
Andrew, the fact that it's unanimous, because there's another piece in this report that isn't unanimous, where the grand jurors say a majority of the grand jurors believe that perjury may have been committed. But this is unanimous, that there was no voter fraud, which suggests that it's an easy thing for the grand jury to have concluded. They're sitting there as regular citizens in Georgia reaching that conclusion. That makes me think that Georgia jurors will assume the President of the United States should have been able to reach the very same conclusion with certainty in December of 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the former president today was heard to say that, you know, he commended the grand jury because they didn't name him, which, of course, they didn't name anybody, and that he was totally exonerated. Sounds familiar? And he's commending this grand jury. When the report comes out, you know, as sure as we're sitting here, you know he's going to take the flip-flop and say, now I denigrate them. One other thing I just point out, you know, this issue of people perjuring themselves, it's useful to think about the Manhattan district attorney case, because they use those witnesses who are sort of loyal to Donald Trump, these sort of hostile witnesses who are lying on the stand. Their entire case against the Trump Organization, which they won, was made out of those witnesses, the people who go in and they lie so badly that these are people that a prosecutor can actually use by putting them on the stand and saying, you believe this? I mean, it's so palpably false. And to me, that is what you're hearing they hear the tape. And I think the finding that we learned today, that they said this was absolutely not the case, is the same kind of thing, where it's like, yes, I heard the false explanation and I readily throw it out.